Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining me for this next episode of the Mother Della Morte show. We've got a really cool show tonight, and it's really weird and ironic how this show kind of lends off last week's show. So if you didn't get a chance to see last week's show, go back and catch it, because this show, whereas last week was all the creepy unknown things that go on below level and below our feet and below the ocean. This one is more in line with things that go on right in front of your face, yet invisible, and I should say actually right above your head, that most people aren't even aware of and are super creepy. So come on in, turn out the lights, grab your popcorn, whatever you do to get settled. And this is definitely a lights off episode. I think it will help with the mood a lot, because some of this stuff is really creepy. So like I said, come on in, get settled. We're going to wait for the audience to build for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and do some house cleaning. So again, like we had talked about last week, Facebook is getting a lot more aggressive with the business pages. And if you have a healthy support system and supporter, group, they get really upset when your organic reach outdoes what they want you to pay for. So please share, please, put the word out there. Let's be the ones to determine how we get out there, not Zuckerberg and the cronies. So with that being said, please share. It is much appreciated. Also, we are still working on the artist schedules, doing updates on those, new content artists and all that kind of stuff. And issue number 2 of our newsletter, we are working on that now. So that should be out somewhere around the first week of June. So if you've not gone to our website and signed up for our newsletter, please do that. Lots of informative links and information about everything going on behind the scenes, some of our special guests and things like that. So go ahead and sign up for the newsletter as well. Let's see, like our YouTube, if you have not liked our YouTube, and you can actually even do that from our website, on our watch page. Each one of our content artists who have become a part of that particular program they have an independent player on our watch channel, so you can catch up on all their past shows and stay in the know that way. So you can find that on all of our websites. Let's see what else we got going on here. Let's see. Also, if you have a business group or product and you're looking to advertise, PBDC TV now has limited sponsorship spaces available. You can reach us here through Facebook or through our website for more information. We have extremely reasonable rates if you are looking to advertise, get your logos out there, that kind of thing. And then, like I said, for people just now joining us, last week we discussed all strange things that happened below our feet. Tonight we will talk about huge high strangeness that occurs invisible but right in front of our eye, or should I say above our heads. So let's see who's here real quick, and then we're going to set the mood. Because like I said, this episode, we're going to set the mood. It's a lights out, turn out your lights, grab your blankie, and that's going to really help with the mood on this particular episode. So let's see what's going on in the chats real quick before we get started. Oh my goodness, so we have a bunch of people here. Hi, Otis. Hi, Dizzy. Hi, Angie. Let's see. Hi, Tom. Hi, John. Hi, Genevieve. Hi, Mikey. Hi, Calvin. Hi, Connor. Oh my goodness, we've got a full house already. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So I've got to tell you, when I started doing research, and you're going to have to forgive me, we're battling like massive pollen and stuff like that down here. So it's got everybody like bleh. So But when I was doing research on this particular subject, I realized when I was listening to a podcast, a childhood fear that I had all but forgotten. Unjustified, yes. And with the onset of cable, there's probably going to be a lot of new supporters here that are going to be like, I just don't get it. But there's going to be a lot of people that I think this will remind you of something that you feared when you were a child. So let's go ahead and let's run clip 1, and then you can tell me if in fact this was a childhood fear of yours as well. So did anybody get that out there? You know, to set the kind of explain for some of the newer, like younger people out there before cable. If you were young and you stayed up late, say watching a scary movie or something like that, and the whole house is asleep, and then you either fall asleep and you wake up to that, or you see that the broadcast is ending for the day, there was something absolutely horrifying about that channel going off the air. I don't know what it was. I know I'm not the only one that totally freaked out. And you got to think, why is that so scary? Why was that so scary? Was it because the it was just so cold and alien? Or did it remind us in our child brain that the whole world was asleep except for you? And you know, at night, that's when the monsters came out. And there's also, if you think about it, something psychologically scary about that, because they even used it to make a point in the classic Poltergeist. So let me see what your thoughts are on that real quick. And then if you guys are ready, we've got the mood set a little bit, kind of where we're going with this. We'll get started. But let's see what's going on in the comments real quick. Yeah, so Nitro says that's way before his time. And then Dizzy said only 3 channels, especially when Poltergeist came out. Yeah, there was just something about the TV going off the air. Like, I can remember it was a race. If I saw them playing the national anthem at the very end of the day, like I had to turn off the TV before the static started. And God forbid if I fell asleep and it was already on, it would just freak me out. Yes, exactly, Angie. They did do that in the Poltergeist as well. And then John says, static is scary. You always think you hear voices in it. This is true. And that's kind of in the direction we're going tonight. And then Tyler says, yes, that sucked, and that noise was annoying. And then Genevieve understands. It was terrifying. It really, really was. It was an unjustified childhood fear that I had completely forgot about until I heard the board on that podcast talking about it. And every single one of them had the same fear that I did as a child. And I thought it was only me, but apparently it wasn't. Hi, Kisa. Hi, Nitro. Yes, John says TV going off at 1 a.m. was scary. It was. And it was related that something bad was about to happen. That's what Mikey says. Hi, Rebecca. And then John says, problem is I can't type with the lights out. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And I did employ Mr. Computer here. So go ahead and run clip 2 and we'll get started.
You are about to enter a very strange world. The world of alleged spooks and spies, conspiracies, covert operations, and what has become a ham radio urban legend. But it's real. Shortwave enthusiasts and cryptographers have known about them for years, and they are one of radio's most enduring mysteries. What are they? Where do they come from and why? And who are they intended for? What I'm about to show you is at the very least curious, if not downright frightening. So let's take a journey to the outer limits of the bands and into the clandestine world of the numbers stations.
So what is a number station? A number station is a type of shortwave radio station characterized by unusual broadcasts, reading out lists of numbers, usually in groups of 5, or incomprehensible coded messages. Now, they have some similarities. Most identified stations use speech synthesis to vocalize numbers, although digital modes such as phrase shift keying, frequency shift keying, as well as Morse code transmissions are not uncommon. And anybody that may have had like a parent, or you may own one yourself, a ham radio, which is the same thing as a shortwave radio, will definitely know what I mean when I'm talking about the Morse codes. The Morse codes, you run up on those a lot on ham radio. And we're going to get into how ham radio or shortwave works. Another similarity that they all seem to have is the voices are usually female, although sometimes men or children's voices are used. Most stations have set time schedules or schedule patterns. However, other stations appear to have no discernible pattern and broadcast at random times. Though transmissions do usually begin on the hour or the half hour. Almost all number stations include a few common elements, which are the ID, the group count, which is, like I said, usually in 5, and a message. The ID is the group of numbers that indicates who the message is intended for. The group count is how many groups, 4 or 5-digit numbers, that are sent in the message. Every transmission usually has an intro or end phase, such as end, or will just end with numbers such as 00000. Additionally, some number stations are so weird and so utterly creepy in nature that one half expects an entity of some kind to jump out at you while you're listening to them. Possibly the most unnerving aspect of number stations is that many of them seem to be impervious to jamming, which is a practice used by communication bureaus to shut down pirate radio stations. According to the notes of the Connet Project, which was, it's actually a group which has compiled recordings of these transmissions, number stations have been reported since World War I. If accurate, this would count number stations among the earliest radio broadcasts. And number stations may or may not have a set frequency in the HF band. Now, I'm going to explain that a little bit. And understand, all the sounds, all the weirdness, everything you hear tonight, these are actual number stations. None of this was made up. None of this is like, you know, for like mood or anything like that. Every single noise you hear tonight is from an actual number station that exists or existed. Now, an HF or high frequency band, aka short waves or what they refer to as sky waves, are unlike long wave or ground waves, such as like an AM radio, in that they travel long distances without the need for additional towers. Unlike the ground waves, such as an AM tuner, that would require the signal to go from one tower to the next tower to the next tower. If a long or ground wave does not have a additional tower to go to, then you can literally drive out of range, which I'm sure we're all used to with AM, FM radio, that once you get a certain distance away from a tower, it's going to fizzle out. That's not the same with a high frequency or short wave, because they bounce off the ionosphere of our planet. A shortwave radio signal can cover a huge range, massively greater than long waves or ground waves. Therefore, the shortwave is capable of reaching a nation that even does not have a radio network. So it can technically bounce all the way around the planet. Hang on just one second. My cat is acting up here. Hang on, guys. She's unplugged me. All right, so it also cuts the risk of prosecution. I'm gonna get my kitty cat. I'm gonna get my kitty cat. Hang on just a second. All right, so it also cuts the risk of prosecution, as short waves can be untraceable and difficult to triangulate. They can be triangulated, however, it can be difficult because you have to be near the actual area in order to triangulate where it may be specifically coming from. So they can triangulate a country, but they may not be able to get any closer than that. So go ahead and run clip 3. All right, so let's talk about the why. So number stations are believed to be used to transmit coded messages to spies, and it is, and is encrypted with what they call a one-time pad. It has long been speculated that these number stations operate as a simple and foolproof method for government agencies to communicate with spies working undercover. With the use of a one-time pad, it is unbreakable. There is no way to decode a message that has been transmitted. There have been some arrests, but it's only because the police happened across what they would consider like the code key, which would be the one-time pad. But without something like that happening, it's virtually impossible to break one of these types of codes. Now, this also allows for complete anonymity, which is why it is used for covert operations. Even, and I found this interesting, even with a quantum computer, which would give every possible outcome or message, which would number in the thousands, it would be like looking for a needle in a stack of needles. With the message being sent through a shortwave broadcast, the message can be heard from long distances, and the identity of the people involved in the operation is kept secret. The time pad is only used once and destroyed after use to maintain security. So go ahead and run clip 4. That's a one-time pad. So let's see what's going on in the comments, and we're going to get to the who. The who is always really interesting. I'm going to try not to stick my finger in y'all's faces. So Facebook is acting up. Great. It's always acting up. Hi, Liz. How are you? Bye, Angie. Yes, the cats have been activated by the sounds. And let me tell you, I was telling Frank this backstage before we started the show. The one thing that I thought when I first started listening to these was DARPA. And I'm like, oh, great. What if, like, I hear some kind of secret message and then, like, all of a sudden I start acting like a chicken or something? You know, I mean, are these meant to, like, activate some people that have been, like, I don't know, hypnotized or something? It's just that crazy thought in the back of my mind. I was like, DARPA. It's the first thing I thought of. And then Maud says, I've always had a soft spot for AM. Something cool about the distortion and stuff makes it creepy. It does. It really, really does. And then Kisa says the 900 megahertz phones would pick up other phones. Yeah, I remember my dad had one that would always, like, you could hear other conversations sometimes, just depending basically on how the wind blew, it seemed like. And then Rebecca says, I lived by a radio station growing up. We picked up on the cordless phone a few times. I believe it. I really, really do. And John says female voices are clearer and static. That makes a lot of sense. And Mikey, I still, from time to time, listen to police radio scanners, but they're harder and harder to find, like, stations, because a lot of them are trunked. And so, yeah, I mean, the technology is really advanced, but I can remember my grandmother. Oh my goodness, she knew everything that was going on in the small town that she lived in because of the police scanner. And then Mikey says, the screwed up part of those number stations was the voices, but definitely the codes. Yeah, the voices are really creepy. And there's some that you probably may have heard in movies because, I mean, hey, nobody claims them. There's no copyright on them. So they're like easy targets, you know, to build a story around. So there may be a few that you may wind up recognizing, and not from hearing them on a ham radio, but from hearing them on, you know, like a movie or something. Hi, Steve. So Steve says thunderstorms whacked out my internet. Yeah, thankfully we don't have them yet. I should say yet. I think they're moving in Friday here. Yeah, DARPA and Greg. All right, so let's get to the who. Sorry, and my hand was in y'all's face the whole time. All right. So who's doing this? So the government agencies are reluctant to admit operating any number stations, and so there are almost no confirmations of any government running them other than the Polish Institute of National Remembrance. A few have come out and said, yeah, we used to. And understand too, before anybody runs out and says, oh, I want a ham radio, you can buy one. I think you can still buy one without a license, but in order to broadcast, you have to have a license from the FCC. And these are technically illegal, like, broadcasts because they're not licensed. Now, many number stations continue to broadcast even today, unhindered and without impunity. In 1998, an article in the Daily Telegraph quoted a spokesperson from the Department of Trade and Industry, the government department that at the time regulated radio broadcasting in the United Kingdom, as saying, these number, and I quote, these number stations are what you suppose they are. People shouldn't be mystified by them. They are not for, shall we say, public consumption. Thought to be used by such entities as the CIA, the KGB, MI5, and MI6, well, which is now MI6, Mossad, and MSS, which is the Ministry for State Security in China. Those are just to name a few, are thought to run some of these number stations. Though, like I said, they originate from all over the world. Many number stations went off the air due to the end of the Cold War in 1989, but many still operate, and some have even continued operation to this day. And we're going to cover at least one of those, which is super creepy, and it is like the granddaddy of them all when it comes to ham radio operators. When it comes to like the mystery behind it. Let's see. Hold on just a second. I lost my place. Okay. So although there have been several cases where spies have been arrested, like I said, such as the Cuban Five, who were arrested for spying since they had received and decoded messages from Cuban number stations, which there's a lot of Cuban number stations. It is also speculated that some of these stations may be related to illegal drug smuggling. Now, with the Cuban Five, they only got caught because the authorities happened across, like I said, a code key or pad during another legal search. Now, unlike government stations, smuggler stations would need to be at a lower power and irregularity as far as operation to avoid location by triangulation direction finding. So let's go ahead and let's run clip 5. And on that, we are going to stop for a minute and do a station identification, and then we'll be right back and we'll take a look at the comments. And we're back. So let's see what's going on in the comments real quick. And we've got a lot of material here, so I'm not trying to ignore anybody. I just want to, you know, not keep you guys here for 2 hours. So Hi, Jack-a-monkey. Let's see if I can do this a little bit differently, so I'm not like sticking my finger in your faces. So Kisa says American or British. If you're talking about number stations in general, they're from all over the world. There are some that I'm going to go over tonight that are from the United States, but they're really from all over the world, unless I'm missing a particular question. So Liz says she keeps saying number stations, and it's actually referred to as numbers station, which is really weird, because you want to either say number stations or number station, but it's number station, which is just kind of odd. But she says she keeps saying number station, and I think power station. Some like it hot, some sweat when the heat is on. Oh my goodness. I used to like that song. Yes, subliminal messages, Keitha. That's what I thought. My first thought was DARPA. And then Mikey said, I was super scared of the voice of the emergency broadcast system. Well, it still makes me turn my head when I hear it, and it's always, this is a test, but, you never know. And the Keitha says, hopefully we all want to be hypnotized. Hypnotized. Oh no, Keitha says, I can't feel anything, Odd Mama. Oh no, maybe she's a secret agent man. All right, so we're going to get into some of the actual best known. So there are dozens, possibly hundreds of number stations operating across the world, and some of them have been active, like I said, since the Cold War, World War I, and Cold War even earlier, which would take it back to World War I and World War II. So it is kind of a leftover from those days. Now, why? There's some people that think, well, sometimes if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if something really bad happened, shortwave is still going to be a way for different entities to communicate with each other. So it's kind of like the keep it simple, stupid. And that may be why a lot of countries still use these number stations. Now, in 2008, for example, the number station EZI-1 was jammed on frequency 9130 kilohertz. However, as the jamming continued, the signal seemed to drift over to 6840 kilohertz and resume its transmission undeterred. Many other stations have reacted to jamming in a very similar and ghostly way. And number stations have changed details of their broadcast or produced special non-scheduled broadcasts that concede or are coincidence with extraordinary political events such as the Soviet coup attempt of 1991 in the Soviet Union. So they've noticed that as of 2008, the ones that are still around, they're becoming more active, which is curious. Now, the best known of the number stations was the Lincolnshire Poacher. The Lincolnshire Poacher was broadcast several times throughout the day and was transmitted 7 days a week at various times and on various shortwave frequencies. The station gained its commonly known name as it used bars from the English folk song, The Lincolnshire Poacher, as an interval signal, which is kind of part of the opening. It consisted of a pre-recorded English accent female voice reading groups of 5 numbers. For example, 0, 2, 5, 8, 8. The final number in each group was spoken at a higher pitch. It is likely that the station was used to communicate to undercover agents operating in other countries, to be decoded again using a one-time pad. And if we'll run clip 6, this is the Lincolnshire poacher. And this one you may have heard in a movie.
Three 9-7-1-5. 3-9-7-1-5. Six, 4, 7, 5. 6, 4, 7, 5.
Now, the precise date that the Lincolnshire Poacher began broadcasting is unknown. However, it is estimated that the broadcast started around the early to mid-1970s. While number stations have existed since World War I, like we talked about, number stations such as the Lincolnshire Poacher began appearing during the Cold War, when nations such as the Soviet Union and the United Kingdom needed to send messages discreetly to their operatives in other countries. However, after the Cold War, the number of number stations greatly decreased. The Lincolnshire Poacher remained operating after the end of the Cold War and continued to broadcast into the next 2 decades. The Lincolnshire Poacher stopped broadcasting in July of 2008. The last recorded transmission of the station was on the 29th of June, 2008. Although the usage of number stations has not been confirmed by any world government, amateur enthusiasts have traced the location of the Lincolnshire Poacher signal transmission to RAF in Akroiteri, which is a Royal Air Force base located in the Mediterranean island of Cyprus. The station is believed to have been operated by the British Secret Intelligence Service, MI6, and maintained by the Royal Air Force members that occupied the base in Cyprus. It is believed that the station had a sister station named Cherry Ripe. It began to send broadcasts that were intended to be sent over to the Lincolnshire Poacher station. This is believed to be true because the Cherry Ripe station used a very similar call signal and broadcasts its message in the 200 set of 5 number IDs. So if we'll run clip 7. All right. Now, Cherry Ripe, it ceased broadcasting in December of 2009. So those are now defunct shortwave broadcasts or number stations. Now, the next on the list is called the Swedish Rhapsody. Revered by number station enthusiasts as one of the creepiest radio transmissions of all time, the Swedish Rhapsody started broadcasting from Poland in the 1970s. The station features a music box version of Swedish Rhapsody #1 by Hugo Alfvén, followed by a female child's voice reciting a list of numbers in German. If you'll run clip 8, please. Now, the original transmission stopped in 1997, but different variations persisted until 2007. No one knows what the original purpose was, nor what has become of that station. It just stopped. Now, the next one on the list is the backwards music station, or AKA Whale Song. The station, eerily named with just an XM, sounds like a distorted feedback-driven noise through which an altered voice can sometimes be heard. The signal has been determined to be originating from two sources, which is interesting. One source being the United States, and the other source, England. Run clip 9, please. Now, a number of different theories have been suggested to explain XM, or the backwards music station. Some believe it is just an avant-garde art. Others say the transmissions are actually instructions for drug cartels. Still others maintain the station was established for government agencies to receive coded messages while out in the field. And let's go ahead and go to the comments real quick, and then we're going to get into a really neat one. It's kind of neat. So John says, I'd like to be on the committees that create these codes. And Kisa says that the tune almost sounded like a nursery rhyme. Are you talking about the Lincolnshire Poacher? I think that's one of my favorites, to be honest. So John says, as I was being apprenticed in famous Lincolnshire, I served my master faithfully for more than 7 years. It's then I turned to poaching, as you shall quickly hear. Yeah, they are creepy. They really are, Liz. And then Mikey says the Swedish Rhapsody #1 sounds like a good typo negative song. And then Liz says the Czech Ministry of the Interior and the Swedish Security Service have both acknowledged the use of number stations by Czechoslovakian for espionage. Oh, I'm sure. And then John says these are fascinating. What on earth can these code messages be? I know, right? Especially that backwards music station. I mean, if they were just running a code backwards, it would be easy to record it and then play it forward unless it's just you start hearing numbers. I don't know. I find that one really interesting. And yes, Jennifer, that does sound like an ice cream truck. You're absolutely right. And Jennifer says, that one hurt my ears and don't even have the volume turned up. Yeah, it really bothered me too. And then John says, we ought to make up a Facebook code station just to creep out Zuckerberg. Oh my God, that's amazing. I love that idea. And we should all be wearing tinfoil hats, right? Okay. All right. So let's get this. You're going to find this one interesting. The unexplained Yosemite Sam number station. The U.S. number station is said to, or I should say, the Yosemite Sam number station is said to originate somewhere near Albuquerque, New Mexico. Ooh. Beginning in December of 2004, the FCC began to get reports of the Yosemite Sam transmission, which begins at an 800 millisecond data, which begins as an 800 millisecond data burst. Similar to the sound a Blu-ray player may make if it were having some sort of horrible error. That is immediately followed by a clip of an arch nemesis of Bugs Bunny's, Yosemite Sam, announcing, "Varmin, I'm going to blow you to smithereens." Now, I will say, I think that's been edited because if you listen to it, it sounds like it says, "Varmin, I'm going to blow your ass to smithereens," is what it sounds like. Run clip 10.
I'm gonna blow you to smithereens. I'm gonna blow you to smithereens. I'm gonna blow you to smithereens.
Now, radio geeks / conspiracy trackers / curious people pinned down the phrase from the 1949 Bugs Bunny cartoon Bunker Hill. Why it's attached to a burst of compressed information, which is often used by intelligence communities, is mysterious enough. That it is transmitted on 4 frequencies, 3700, 4300, 6500, and 10,500 kilohertz for a full 2 minutes without any missed time marks, tend to make it all the more mysterious. And I'm assuming it's still running today because there is no, it stopped running on this particular day. All right, now we're going to cover now the most mysterious radio transmission in the world as considered by ham radio operators. It is called UVB 76. The so-called mysterious number station of all time is a radio signal that occurs at 4625 kilohertz and has reportedly been broadcasting since the late 1970s. The earliest known recording of it is dated 1982. Since then, it has broadcasted a repeating buzzing noise. Every few years, the buzzer stops, and a Russian voice reads a mixture of numbers and Russian names, only once every few years. One of the weirdest aspects of UVB 76 is that it survived the fall of communism without so much as a hitch. So run clip 11, please. In fact, since the year 2000, UVB 76 has become even more active and its rare voice message more and more frequent. The weird thing also is distant conversations and other background noises have frequently been heard behind the buzzer, suggesting that the buzzing tones are not generated internally, but are transmitted from a device placed behind a live and constantly open microphone. Sometimes papers can be heard rustling to even human shouts and screams. What is most perplexing is that these oddities often precede a global or political event. So a lot of ham radio operators that keep track of this stuff have reported hearing unusual background noises and things like that. And then a few days later, you'll read about like something pretty massive that happened internationally. And you're hearing it on like local broadcasts and things like that. Because of the occasional fluctuation pitch of the buzzing tones, it is supposed that the tones are generated by a tone wheel as used in a Hammond organ. Now, another tantalizing theory is that the transmission itself is considered a dead hand, or nuclear failsafe set up by the USSR. In other words, if it stops, boom. In 2010, a group of explorers went to the remote Russian town of Povarvo and found the bunker that UVB 76 transmitted from for over the last 30 years. But it was completely abandoned, except for a conveniently placed ledger with the complete log of messages from the Russian military. The signal has since moved locations. However, it is still broadcasting today. So I've got one more that I'm going to show you at the end of the feed. And I think you're going to find that interesting. But I thought that this one was just really super cool. So let's see what's going on in the comments real quick. Let's get back to where I was. Hi, Dustin. How are you? And then Steve the Cat says, should have taken a right turn in Albuquerque. And what in tarnation? Exactly right, Kisa. And then Amy says that New Mexico is full of weirdness. And yeah, agreed. So Mikey says, yeah, that one's an edit. Yeah, I think it says, Barman, I'm going to blow your ass to smithereens. That's what I hear. And then Otis says Bill Cooper broadcasted on ham radio. I love ham radio. I love listening to it. I've actually got a sorry guys, this pollen is tearing us up. I've got a handheld that's like a police scanner, but it's also got the shortwave bands. But my dad, he used to have a really big one, and yeah, you could hear all kinds of stuff on those things, especially at night. When the waves, you know, when it's easier for the waves, the short waves to travel through the night sky. Yeah, some creepy stuff on there, all kinds of weird stuff. And then Liz says it sounds like someone's holding a vibrator next to a mic. Sorry, let me do my other hand. I'm sticking my finger in your face again. So Amy says, my dad used ham radio when I was a kid, and now as an adult, I can't help but think someone was messing with his head. Lots of weird things happen on ham radio. They're a lot of fun, but a lot of high strangeness on those things. And then Otis said, I heard a male's voice. You know, I didn't hear anything, to be honest with you, Otis. But again, you know, are there subliminal messages in these things? I don't know. You know, that's kind of some of the creepy factor to the ones that are just the noises. Because there's a couple of them out there that are just weird noises like that. Like one is called the magnetic field, and it's really odd. It's really, really odd. And then there's one called polytones, and it's really weird too. But it's like just weird noises. So see, the cat says, so it's basically Mothman radio, pretty much. And then Amy says he talked about it a lot, but it was always dismissed as schizophrenia related things. I really don't know. But I can tell you that I've listened to ham radio, and it's kind of like CB, you know, probably more so than CB. Just a lot of weird things going on. And then John says, I'm surprised you're a ham mother. You don't seem like one of those techies. I'm a little bit more techie than maybe people think. Yeah, Otis, eventually I think that who knows, we may all go back to ham radios. You know, it's an easy way to communicate, aka the reason that they want you to have licensing to do it. Now, do people operate it without licensing? Absolutely. Will you go to jail? If you don't, you're going to get a big fine, because it is regulated by the FCC. And then Amy says, my dad had issues, but it got worse after he was in the Navy, and he screwed up somehow. He was held captive by our military in Cuba and tortured for about a week, and then dishonorably discharged. And after that, his mental health severely declined. Well, I think that anybody's probably would, Amy, and I'm really sorry that happened. And then Calvin says, sideband is more like ham than CB radio. Cool. Oh no, the number station got me. I don't know what happened. Honestly, guys, I didn't click the wrong button. But I just went away. Creepy. All right. So let's we're gonna finish this out here in just a minute, because I know we're going over just a little bit. So just to go over what's coming up in the coming week, other shows, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're gonna have the Battle Haven. They cover tabletop RPG gaming. So if you like Warhammer and D&D discussions and things like that, you'll definitely want to tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. Now on Friday at 8:30, we have the Dom and Tom Show. At 10 p.m., we have Roots Bleed Red. And at 12 p.m., Cemetery Joe. Now on Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Night of the Living Dread Scurry Face Edition. Then at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it will be the Psychosocial Hour with Night of the Living Dreads. At 9:30, the Sinister Sisters with special guests Liz and Frank from Roots Bleed Red. So you'll definitely want to catch that one. That's going to be an interesting one. And then at 11 Eastern Standard Time, we have Tom's World. Now on Sunday at 8:30 p.m., we have the Sideshow with Chaos and Squeaks and sometimes Deface. And then on Monday at 8:30 p.m., Out of the Ordinary with Mikey. And then on Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat. So if you haven't caught Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat, you need to do it. Then on Tuesday at 7 p.m., we have the Creepy Parlor with Genevieve. And we also have Miss Cindy, Psychic Cindy, over on our YouTube channel at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays. Then on Wednesdays, in the afternoon, the early afternoon, we have Foreman Damon Bard who does his garden report around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then I'm back. So I just wanted to thank all of our viewers and our supporters. Without you, none of this would be possible. If you do like what we do and you want to support the artists here, please share. That's the absolute best way that you can support us as a group. But if you do want to do more, you can go to our website, to our coffee bar, and buy us a coffee through Ko-Fi. So, like I said, before we end tonight, I was going to save probably the most modernized or recent for last. So, have number stations gone modern? Have number stations migrated online? They may very well have. A YouTube account named WebDriver Torso has posted over 77,000 videos. Each one is 11 seconds in length and containing a pitch sound and blue and red rectangles. One theory is that it is a message spyboard, a digital online equivalent of a number station. Virtually nothing is known about WebDriver Torso, where the channel came from, who the user is, or what the purpose of the videos might be. But everything about them bears a strong resemblance to the type of information disseminated that we see in number stations. So with that, we're going to run clip 12, and pleasant nightmares, everybody. Bye. And there's our legal disclaimer. Hi, guys.
This is Mr. Applewhite speaking. Do not attempt to adjust your device. There is nothing wrong with it. I am here to deliver a message. Join Psycho Bunny Death Cult in our anti-censorship campaign. Free your mind. Free your head.